AskReddit. People who've eaten at restaurants featured on Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. How was the food/experience? My family regularly went to the Greek at the harbor before it was on the show. I was very nervous when I found out it was on the show, but luckily it was one of the few episodes I saw that didn't feature a dirty kitchen and disgusting food practices. We then went once after the show. Before the show, the food quality was decent but not spectacular. The atmosphere was pretty good. It was right on the water. The food quality improved slightly after the show, but the price became very expensive, and we decided that as much as we loved the place, it was too overpriced now to return. I live in the same New Jersey town as the Blackberry's soul food restaurant episode. The show was accurate. The dead rat wasn't planted, and I'm honestly surprised that's all they found. Based on personal experiences, I will stand by the fact that the staff was better the restaurant and owner deserved. They probably downplayed how awful her personality was when it came to running the business and taking criticism. City Hall was literally right across the street and I did a few internships there in high school. They would occasionally try to get us to support the business and eat lunch there. As with most restaurants on Kitchen Nightmares, it closed down shortly after. Used to work at that shop, right, and met her once, which thought she was famous. She was with another chef from the restaurant, who was super nice. Talked about different marinades for barbecuing a pig. Still feel so bad for the grandma though. I went to Mike and Nella's in Oakhurst, New Jersey when it was rebranded as a steakhouse, but without knowing that it was featured on the show. So at that point, it was good. It wasn't until later, when I was catching up on episodes, that I realized that place had been featured. The food was good and the experience was as well, so I was shocked that this was on an episode. Lo and behold, I could see why once I saw it. Their episode got featured in October of 2011, and they were closed by January of 2012. I think I had been there in November of 2011, so I got it all brand new and revamped. I live 10 minutes from there, and when I saw the episode, we wanted to go try it, but it was already closed. Womp womp. I was a production assistant on a handful of episodes. The food was usually bad. The menu was replaced by the Nightmares team. Then most places switched back. Owner, our menu is several pages long, and so we have to cut quality and freeze/microwave more dishes. Gordon, why not have a smaller menu with better dishes? Owner, variety is the spice of life. Gordon, at least try for this week. Customer, wow, this small menu looks and tastes great, I'll be coming back again. 6 months later. Owner, we switched back for reasons unknown. We are bankrupt. My guess is most places switched it back, not just to be stubborn, or because they thought they knew better. The new menu was probably just too expensive. Gordon's not wrong that better food makes a better restaurant, but if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. A lot of towns just can't support $20 per plate dinners, even if it's worth it. We have a little Italian pizza place out here that was featured on Kitchen Nightmares a few years ago. Last fall my husband, my friend and I decided to go try it out. The little old Italian man who ran it on the show is still there. It was so funny. When we came in, we stood at the counter to order, and he said, what do you want? And we're like, lunch? So he sat us down at a table and made us the best damn pizza I've had in a really long time. He kept coming over and very brusquely asking us, how are you doing? Or how do you like the food? It was really good. We were the only people there, so it was really quiet. I speak Italian and the guy was so happy to talk to me. I stood at the counter for about 10 minutes chatting with him in Italian. He told me I was the first person in several years to come in and speak to him in Italian. It was actually really fun. The food was fantastic. I recommend it to all my friends. I hope the place does really well. I live in Scottsdale and once went to Amy's Baking Company before they were featured on the show. Took over an hour for them to make me a club sandwich. There was an AMA with a ex-waitress from there. She was also the one who was fired on the episode for asking Amy a question. My friends and I tried to go there once a few years after they were featured. There were 6 of us, and they only had tables of 2, 4, or 8. They told us the 8 was for reservations only and shooed us out when we were talking of splitting our group to eat. I went once with some friends before it got closed down. All Sammy did the whole time was rag on Gordon, saying how he's a liar and the episode was misinterpreted. We didn't even mention anything about the show, but he felt the need to defend himself at all costs. Unfortunately, we didn't get to meet Amy. The desserts were actually pretty good though. I ate at a restaurant that was on Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. Get ready, because this is actually a sad story. The place was in my old neighborhood, which was a semi-popular bar/shopping district in my city. For backstory, it was run by a couple who inherited the wife's parents' very successful restaurant in another state, but had closed it to open the one that would be featured on the show. From what I could tell, they were nice hard-working people, but no one in the immediate family had really had any restaurant experience. The problem was that in the other state it was a unique place. In my area it was an Italian place in a neighborhood that was pretty much nothing but Italian places. The episode was awkward. We are not a neighborhood that gets noticed on a national scale very often, so every bar and restaurant on the street had a viewing party for it. So, pretty much the entire neighborhood saw it live. And, throughout the course of the episode, the viewer starts realizing that the husband is seriously depressed. At one point Gordon Ramsay stops acting and sits down to have an honest to God intervention with the guy. I felt horrible for having watched the episode. Honestly, it felt sickeningly voyeuristic to be participating in this family's legitimate problems. If the guy had been a stranger in another state, I might have felt differently, but he wasn't. He was a real person that I saw every morning smoking a cigarette while I walked to work. I'd stand behind his daughter in line at the coffee shop. He was not a character, and he was not acting for the camera. So, to your actual question, I went there twice after filming. Both times the food was amazing. I'm not just saying that because of guilt, it was actually fantastic. But, as I said before, the food wasn't their problem. What was less fantastic was that the owner would come to your table to talk with you. But he was, how to put this gently, not the best conversationalist. The conversations would start out normal until he'd seg into telling us how his father died violently in a house fire, or that I should make sure to tell my friends to go there because the place was still failing and he didn't understand why, and so on. They were among the most delicious and saddest meals I've ever eaten. Eating there was on the same level as going out to dinner after my grandmother's funeral. The place seemed like it was doing better after the episode. It looked like it had much more business anyway, but it closed about 3 years after the episode aired. Gossip around the street is that the place had actually recovered financially, but the landlord thought they could get more money from opening a different kind of establishment. But the place the landlord wanted fell through, so now it's just an empty building in the middle of an otherwise thriving street. I can do one better, actually. I worked at one. In fact, I helped debut it, started a week or two before opening. El Greco in Austin, Texas. I did not work there anymore at the time of the filming. First of all, let me say this, I always thought Kitchen Nightmares was faked and exaggerated. Now I know it isn't. They actually had to tone this guy down for TV. As far as the food goes, it's a shame, really. When he started the restaurant, his mom, and his aunt cooked amazing food from scratch. The best Greek food I've ever had. He insisted on extremely high quality ingredients across the board, causing them to hemorrhage money. He started sleeping later and later, showing up less, and the microwaving of food started. Between increasing drama in the kitchen and decreasing quality of prep and ingredients, incredible food turned bland and mediocre experiences became horrible. I remember that somebody told a vegan that sounded like he was vegan. It has a ton of ground beef in it. The boss, James, would also talk about how he'd like to sleep with all the female customers. He would take the contents of the safe home every night, just for, safekeeping. He accused us of stealing from the register. We didn't, and told us he would force us to work for free for the amount of time it took him to review the security footage. You can't do that. He told us to stop people from putting napkins under the table legs to stabilize them. If I see one more of these under here, he said, I'll make you walk around with it in your shoe. Do you know what that does? It will mess up your back. I got fired a few months in. Never looked back. So glad that happened. Saw that Kitchen Nightmares episode a few years later and laughed my butt off. It's a real shame. He wasted $800,000 of his dear old mom's money on that place. Actually, she was kind of a jerk too, but I loved her nonetheless. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more videos like this. Don't forget to leave your stories in the comments below.